They killed Nolan Wells on the boat. They covered him up with the life jackets. They all knew he was on the boat. They just laid him on the back of the boat and got towed in part of the way. Then they got their boat running and they got on in. And when they got in, they couldn't figure out where they were going to put him or what they were going to do. So they dropped everybody off. Then they went back out to the island that the GPS doesn't show, but they did because they disconnected it.
Nolan Wells' most loyal supporters just raised a disturbing boat question, and today's update deserves your full attention. Because this time, the question isn't coming from strangers online. It's coming from the people who have followed this case from day one, who have read every filing, watched every hearing, and refused to let Nolan's story fade from the headlines.
Okay? And none of them had their phones with them when they went back. So there wasn't any trace of them going back. And they dumped the body. They came back, took the boat out of the water, then went over there at 3 a.m. and washed the boat, thinking washing the boat would get all the DNA and everything off the boat.
Now, after you've listened to it, I'm sure that you got the same thing that I have. I don't think that he's describing what happened or like if he had firsthand knowledge of what happened and things of that nature. I think what he is doing is saying that this is what he heard on one of the panel's lives or something of that nature. And he is saying that these content creators, TikTok creators, we are the best investigators out there, and that the police or investigators, or if there are any in this case, should look into the things that we have researched, because he feels that we're spot on.
My people, if Nolan Wells' story has touched you the way it's touched me, you already know why 3 True Crime Stories exists. We don't chase rumors, we chase the truth this family deserves. So before we continue, do something that actually matters. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because Nolan's family needs people who show up every single time, not just once.
Now, the DA and warrant might have released some stuff on Nolan's birthday, but Miss Christine came back and checkmate on them, because now she went and had her attorney subpoena, she subpoenaed Sea Tow Services and Water Marine Services that operates at South Mississippi, because she wants all the data, videos, cameras, anything from the time at 2 to 8 p.m., anything surrounding Nolan being on Horns Island, the protocols, and she also wants the manuals to what if something happens. Like, they want all the shenanigans, all the shebang bang bangs. Y'all gonna stop playing with Miss Christine, because checkmate, check the freaking mate. And I don't care what y'all say about Miss Christine. I don't care what y'all try to paint this narrative about Nolan or how she's like, but she's not playing with y'all. Y'all can go have several seats, and I'm pretty sure that there'll be more subpoenas coming around for y'all, because she's not playing. She's not playing. She's going to get answers. She's going to get some justice for her son. We're going to get answers for her son. Hello. Not check. Hey, y'all. Hey. So I know that people are starting to question this image, and I'm glad that they are starting the conversation about the image before me, because when I looked at it, when it originally came out, I zoomed in specifically into this in space, and I was thinking, like, does that look like a bunch of people laying, sunbathing, or anything in that nature? Or is it looking like what is that? So let me show you the picture I'm talking about. Now, you guys always know me. I'm sharing, I'm not alleging, I'm not accusing, I'm just asking questions. So pipe down with all that other conversation, but you tell me what you see and let's dialogue about that, because when this image literally first came out, it really took me back. Mind you, the other 3 boats that are there, but specifically zooming in into this location, it was taking me back. So what do you see?
You guys, a new update in the Nolan Wells case, and baby, when I say this changes everything, it changes everything. A new star witness has come forward in the Nolan Wells case that completely destroys the police narrative and the DA narrative. You guys, when I tell you this star witness is literally a force of nature, it is a force of nature. Okay, so what am I talking about, right? Remember when all this happened, right? Go back to a time before you knew who Officer Django was. I know, I wish it was a simpler time. Okay. And Warren was out there on Horn Island looking like just cold-blooded, in my opinion. Talking about some, people die out here all the time. I know a lot of people that have died out here, right? And it set the stage. It set a narrative. It locked in a narrative that the police, the governor, the DA, all those boys' parents, and everybody, in my opinion, hid behind. Well, baby, this star witness has come forward, and when I say it's a force of nature, it's a force of nature. Who is this mysterious star islet? I wrote my own reveal. Who is this mysterious star witness? Baby, the star witness is Horn Island. Now, stop. Before you be like, T, someone hurt you. You just wasted my time. No, I didn't. Because People Magazine have unearthed the fact that in Horn Island, nobody has died from drowning in the last 6 years. And more importantly, even if you go into a decade or 2 decades ago, at most a handful of people, and we're talking 2, 3, 4 people, have passed away on Horn Island or from Horn Island drowning. Again, nobody has died, nobody has drowned on Horn Island in over 6 years, and before that is a sprinkling. Why is this so important? Because you guys, the nature, the geography, the currents is literally what blows this case apart. Let me explain. I had the receipts, and I promise by the end of this, yeah, you might agree with me too. All right, so where do we start? Let's get into this. Okay, first, let's talk about what I want to call the perjury trap, all right? Y'all remember, the boys came out there and started saying, right from the gate, saying people die out here all the time on Officer Tatum's interviews, on the media, on the news, everywhere they could. Now, why is that important? Because some people say that this proves that they were setting a predetermined narrative that they knew was a lie. Okay? How do we know it's a lie? Because and let's make sure we're right, the official Jackson County coroner records, okay, published in People Magazine, but more importantly, it's in Jackson County and it's in federal, right? The federal systems, right? They just didn't prove that nobody's drowned in over 6 years. Now, hold that snapshot right there, because why is this so important? Why is this a star witness? First thing we have to ask, who gave those boys a narrative? Okay? Who gave those boys a narrative that, was it the police? Did the boys say something and the police were like, don't worry, people die out there all the time. And it locked in a narrative that stuck in the boys' head, but more importantly, it's stuck in everybody's head saying, you just need to accept Nolan drowned. Now pause right there, because now we have to splinter, okay? Materials and written procedures for handling reports and boats taking on water and sinking. The Warrant Marine subpoena goes even deeper. She wants all calls tied to the incident, including dispatch calls and communications between the captain, local crew, and people connected to the boat. She also wants all other communications about the incident and records showing whether any of them changed or ended CTO's response. Woo! Now listen, I know what you're saying. Tisa, it seems standard. This is not standard. This is a checkmate. When I say this is Thanos with the affinity ring coming in around the DA and being like, oh, and that grand jury, please. Okay, so let me break it down why this is so amazingly good, but also amazingly bad for the DA and the locals that want to keep complete control and secrecy over the case, all right? This is an absolute masterpiece. Let me start off by saying, of civil litigation. Hands up to Ahmad R. Smith law firm, okay? Because here's the thing, you guys. Instead of bickering back and forth and you know how Officer, I don't know, maybe Officer Django was like, if they would just let Ben Crump go, the boys could give them information, and having to be like, please, Warren, can you tell us what you saw? Please, Jax, please. Instead of having to beg for information and sit and bark and roll over like a dog, and maybe if you make us happy, maybe then we'll tell you what we know about Warren. What we know about Nolan. Instead of all that, baby, let's get into this. It targets a neutral corporate third party. Now, I took notes. Private maritime towing corporations do not answer to Jackson County Sheriff or even local state politicians.
Here's what we know for certain. 18-year-old Nolan Wells was last seen boating with friends on Horn Island on the 4th of July. His friends left the island without him that evening. His body was recovered 2 days later, on July 6th, in the water just offshore. Investigators initially pointed to an accidental drowning. No official cause of death has been released. The case remains open, with the findings expected to go before a grand jury. Since then, Nolan's family has pushed for something the public rarely gets in cases like this: actual documentation. And that is where the boat question comes back in. Legal filings have targeted the marine service companies connected to the area, seeking dispatch logs, radio recordings, and communication records tied to the 4th of July. These aren't accusations. They're requests for records that either confirm the existing timeline or complicate it. And that's exactly what Nolan's most loyal supporters have picked up on. If drowning was the immediate and obvious explanation, why does the case still need federal compliance records from towing and marine companies months later? Why has the family sought data connected to Life 360, to messaging platforms, to location history? These are not wild theories. These are documented steps taken by the family's own legal team. And supporters are simply asking the same question. Investigators are. What do the records actually show? There's another detail fueling the conversation, one that comes from public records rather than speculation. According to information obtained through an open records request, Jackson County had not recorded a drowning death at Horn Island in the 6 years prior to Nolan's death. That doesn't prove anything on its own. Currents change. Conditions vary, but it's the kind of statistic that makes people pause, and it's exactly the kind of detail Nolan's supporters have been circulating, carefully and with sourcing, rather than wild accusation. At the same time, the family's independent autopsy came back inconclusive, neither confirming drowning nor ruling out other explanations. That uncertainty is part of why the boat question won't go away. Supporters aren't claiming to know what happened out on the water. They're asking why the answers everyone was given so quickly still don't match the amount of legal effort now being spent trying to confirm them. That tension between an early explanation and an ongoing investigation reaching into marine dispatch logs and phone data is the heart of today's update. Not a theory, not an accusation, a documented gap between what was said in the first days and what the family's legal team is still trying to prove months later. We're going to keep watching this case exactly the way Nolan's family has asked people to, by following the evidence, not the noise. As new filings surface, as records come back, we'll bring you the next update the same way we brought you this one. Sourced, careful, and focused on getting Nolan the truth he deserves. If this update mattered to you, if you believe Nolan deserves real answers instead of assumptions, make sure you're subscribed to 3 True Crime Stories and hit that like button before you go. It helps this story reach the people who are still asking the right questions.